What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I'm Robbie, the Precision Rifle Sniper. Today we're doing the ultimate face-off, gas gun versus bolt gun. We will compare budget ammo against the premium ammo, testing both accuracy and velocity, and then taking both rifles out to distance. Both rifles are 5.56 NATO. The premium ammo is the Berger 77 grain open tip match at almost $2 a round. The budget ammo is Winchester's M193 55 grain bullets at 50 cents a round. So first up is going to be the bolt gun. This is a Mossberg MVP. It's got a 18-inch 1 9 twist barrel. I've recently put a few upgrades on this. We've put the new MDT Oryx chassis with their Arca rail. We've installed this AccuFire 2.5 to 20 power scope, and we've installed a muzzle brake on this rifle. It still has the factory trigger. So like I said, up first we have the Mossberg MVP. We're going to start off with the budget ammo. I have more of this. We're limited to only 40 rounds of the more expensive stuff due to it being more expensive, and this test is not sponsored. It's all on my own dime. So for the expensive stuff, we're going to do 2 3-round groups at 100 with velocity, and then we'll do, on the long range, we'll do 3-round groups all the way at 2, 3, 4, and 5. New session. So we're going to compare velocity and accuracy of bolt gun versus gas gun, and cheap ammo versus expensive ammo. This bolt gun just got this scope put on, so I have a target on the side over there. Hopefully we'll be on paper with the first shot, but I'll get it zeroed in and close to zero before we move over and do our group. So this is the first round. We're not on paper. Let me check the spot and scope and see if I can tell where it hit. Okay, so the first shot was off the right about 10 inches, and the velocity was 3,048. So we need to come left about 3.5 mils. So left. Left 3.5. Try it again, see if we can get on paper. Alright, so down 8/10. Four, 6. Looks like we need to come back 60. Alright, same target. Just a little low. Just a little high. So we're in there pretty close. Let me move the spot and scope over onto the target and we'll get our first group. So this is the first group of the bolt gun versus gas gun using the cheap ammo. This is the bolt gun. Alright, first group, I'm starting with the far left target, center mass. And I'm just doing 3 round shots, so. Since the group is so big on that target, I'm gonna just go ahead and put all 6 rounds with the cheap ammo in the same target in the middle. So that's a 6 round group with the cheap ammo with the bolt gun. I'm going to go ahead and give you the data for this group. So shot summary, average of 3150, extreme spread of 28 of 128.5. Average velocity 3055, extreme spread 128. So this is our premium ammo, the Berger 77 grain open tip match at almost $2 a round. I'm just going to go to the next target to the right. I'm going to start with a 3 round group, and if it's small enough, I'll put another 3 round group on a different target on that paper. Alright, so I'm going to move to the bottom right and give you another 3 round group. So that's 2 3 round groups with the premium Berger 77 grain open tip match. From where I'm sitting, they're probably an inch, but we'll get the exact measurements and put them on the screen. Now we do want to save all of this brass. This is Berger has Lapua brass, which is really good stuff to save and reload. But here's some of our shot data. Shot summary, okay? So that's 6 shots with the premium ammo in the bolt gun. Average speed 26-14. Extreme spread of 83. Standard deviation of 27. Next up for the gas gun build, this is an Aero Precision upper and lower with a Ballistic Advantage 18-inch barrel, 1 in 8 twist. This rifle has the Faxon 15-inch handguard with a weighted Area 419 Arca rail. We have a JP bolt carrier group in this rifle with the JP silent capture spring system and the JP buffer tube. On top of the buffer tube we have the Magpul PRS stock. For the trigger we have the Trigger Tech Diamond. Up top we're running the Strike Eagle 5-25 Vortex. On this scope I'm running the Kenton Industries turret tape. Alright, here we go. We have the gas gun on the bench. First test is going to be with the cheap, inexpensive ammo, 50 cents a round. I'm going to do 2 3-round groups. And we're going to the next target over, so it will be the 3rd target from the left. So that group is not too horribly bad. I'm going to go ahead and move down to the bottom right target and send 3 more. There we go. So that's all of our... Alright, there you go. There's our 2 groups with the Winchester cheap ammo. It actually didn't do terribly bad. One thing, this gas gun has got the absolute best trigger that I've ever felt. This is Trigger Tech Diamond's new, or Trigger Tech's new diamond trigger for AR. Oh, this thing is so nice. So let me show you the chronograph data on this, and then we'll get the expensive ammo. So this is our shot summary for the gas gun, using the Winchester 193 55 grain, average velocity 30-39, extreme spread of 49. So up next is the Berger 77 grain open temp match through the gas gun at 100 yards. And this is going to be on the last target on the right. Alright, so now going down to the bottom right target. That group looks under a ½ inch. That's another ½ inch group. Let me find all the brass. I'll give you the chronograph data. So this gas gun is very impressive. But I have been looking into maybe getting a little bit bigger barrel, maybe a proof research. or maybe a custom barrel. But let me give you some of the velocity data here. So here's all 6 rounds. Average is 2663. Extreme spread is 72. That's not the greatest, but that's pretty good for a gas gun for sure. So we're going to walk down, we're going to look at the targets, I'll take some pictures, we'll load everything up, and we'll head down to the long range and paint up some targets and shoot them out at distance. Alright, so we just finished up our 0 and grouping test down at the 100 yards. I've come down here to the long distance range. We're going to be shooting 220, 330, 420, and 520 yards. So first up is the bolt gun, running the cheap Winchester ammunition. And I did some numbers on my Ballistic computer, and I'm just going to use the same data for both guns, just a little different. Alright, so first up, 220 yards, Mossberg MVP bolt action, Winchester 55. Doing 3 rounds. Let me finish this.
2 4s and a 3.
So there we go. Let's move to the 330 yard target. This is the 55 grain out of the bolt gun, the Mossberg MVP, at 220 yards. We need to dial up to 1.5. $330 yards. This is the Mossberg MVP with the cheap 55 grain bullets at 330 yards. So now we're at 420 yards. We need to dial up to 2.5. So this was the Mossberg MVP 55 grain cheap stuff at 420 yards.
I'm going to shoot that pattern again and have to walk it down. Haven't been squished.
So this is 540 yards. We need to dial up to 4.2. And I'm actually going to be holding the left edge of the plate. We're kind of pushing towards the right edge. Cheap ammo didn't fire.
I don't better squish them, don't you?
So this is the Mossberg MVP with the 55 grain at 520 yards. I believe I'll have to rewatch the video, but I think the third round went off of the right edge over here. So we'll see it in the video. So this is our data for the Winchester 55 grain with the bolt gun. Alright, so you guys seen the groups for the 55 grain out of the bolt. I've painted it up now, and we're about to start again using the 77 grain. The data on the scope is a little bit different because this stuff is slower. It may need another 10th up, but I'm using a big plate just for that reason, so we can see the groups instead of having to see the data, because I haven't trued this data or anything like that. So we're going to start off 220 yards. This is 77 grain Berger out of the bolt action. I am dialed to 0.7. Dialed to 0.7. So this is going to be our 3 shots at 220 yards, 77 grain open tip match with the Mossberg bolt action. So this is going to be the 77 grain at 330 yards. We need a 1.6 on the scope. Bolt gun, 330 yards. Here we go. Looks like we stacked them up again. So this is going to be the Mossberg 77 grain at 330 yards, Mossberg MVP, Berger 77 grain open tip match.
You better yeah. And you got what, 16? 16 loads. You ain't gonna do them no more? I might just pull them back out. Just try a few of them, yeah. These are hot.
Alright, so I got the mag reloaded. This is 420 yards, we need 2.6 on the scope. Mossberg MVP, bolt gun, 77 grain, open tip match, 420 yards. So it sure is a lot easier to paint these targets up with that 77 grain. See, cause saying, look at this. You know, this is 420 yards with the Mossberg MVP. So I forgot to move the spot and scope on that 420 yards. But I'll take a picture of it when I go down there and we'll look at it. But this is 540 yards. We need a 4.2. Also on the 400 yards, it was a little low, so I'm gonna go up to like a 4.3. I don't know the exact data on this. This is just getting us close. But this is 77 grain open tip match. Mossberg MVP, bolt action, 540 yards. So that's 540 yards with the Mossberg MVP, shooting the 77 grain open tip match. I would say the more expensive stuff is definitely better. So this is the bolt gun running the 77 grain open tip match. Average velocity at 26.13, standard deviation of 19, extreme spread at 61. Alright, so you guys just seen the groups we did with the Mossberg bolt gun. Very impressive groups. So now we're going to see if the gas gun can do a little bit better. This will be the first rounds at distance for the gas gun. So we're starting off with the Winchester M193 55 grain, running about 3,050. You guys probably already seen the velocity. I can't remember off the top of my head. But we're going to use the same basic drop table as we did for the bolt gun. It's roughly going to be super close at these distances, especially on the plate. The plate I'm using is, I think, 18 inches by 30 inches. So we shouldn't have much problem hitting it with this gun. So first up is the 220 yards. 220 yards with the Winchester. Dialing to 0.6 MOA. And I've cleaned up and painted up the targets, so this will be a fresh. Let me check the spot and scope. It's on target. I missed one of the targets earlier, as you guys will see in the video. Alright, so 220 yards with the gas gun. Running the 55 grain Winchester. .55 grain Aero Precision gas gun. 220 yards, 4-inch group. Alright, so now we're at 330 yards with the gas gun, running the cheap Winchester 55 grain. We're going to be dialing to 1.5, 330 yards. Alright, so this is going to be 330 yards. There's an impact up here. So 330 yards with 55 grain using the gas gun. From here to here, 5.5 inches. So roughly 6-inch group at 330 yards. Moving to 420 yards with the gas gun. It's going to be 2.6. 2.6. That's 2.6 mils. So 440 yards with the gas gun. Winchester M193 55 grain. So that group was high left. We'll make an adjustment to try to hit the 500 yard plate. So this is 420 yards. This is the Aero Precision gas gun. That's 3 shots right there in about 5 inches. So we're moving to the 540 yard plate. Move this, that muzzle blast. .540 yard plate. It's calling for 4.2. We were high at 400 yards, so I might come down to 3.9. I'm gonna do 3.9, try to keep it on the plate. And I'm going to favor probably, let's call it 3/10 right. Here we go. 540 yards. Not sure if those are all on the plate or not. If we need to, we'll group it using the spot and scope data. So this was our 540 yards with the 55 grain gas gun. I do believe there's 2 impacts there. I don't know where the last one went. Maybe low or off the right edge. I'll run the spotting scope video back for you real quick. I'd like to say, if you guys haven't seen or checked out Capture Gear yet, that's how I get all the spotting scope videos. So you guys need to go check them out. Headed back to do the last round of testing. So this is the velocity for the Winchester through the gas gun. 3071. Deviation 27, extreme spread 89. Alright, you guys just seen the 55 grain gas gun groups at distance. Let's finish strong with some Berger OTM 77 grain out of the Aero Precision gas gun build. We'll go ahead and run the chronograph data. I've been running it for everyone. So I got 2 magazines now, so I'm not going to have to load the mag. Alright, so here we go. This is 77 grain open tip match out of the Aero Precision build gas gun. So first up is 220 yards. We dial into 7/10.7. 220 yards. That's an impressive group right there. So this is 3 shots, 77 grain open tip match, 220 yards with the Aero Precision gas gun. It's all 3 rounds in 1 inch at 220 yards. This is going to be 330 yards with the 77 grain. We're going to dial up to 1.6. 1.6. Pretty impressive group at 330 yards. So this is the 77 grain out of the gas gun at 330 yards. I would say a 4-inch group. Alright, so this is going to be 420 yards with the 77 grain premium ammo. We're going to dial up to 2.6. .6. .420 yards. 77 grain. Alright, it's stacking them. So this is 420 yards. This is a pretty impressive group right here. .420 yards, 2.5-inch group with a 77 grain open tip match out of a semi-automatic gas gun. All right, last group of the day. Let's make this a good one. Go home end it on a good note. So 540 yards, 4.2. 540 yards, open tip match, Aero Precision gas gun. They're all on there. Not as impressive as the 400 yard group, but it's pretty good. So let me pack up and we'll go down. I'll show you those groups and then we'll look over some of this data and take some pictures of the targets and consolidate it and give you an overall review. So this was our 540 yard target. I wasn't real impressed. It opened up a little bit. It's 6.5 inches. So just over an MOA, which that's not terrible with a semi-automatic gas gun. especially one as light as that one is. So, alright, I'm back at the house now, and I've taken some time to consolidate all the data from today's testing. As I go through this, I'll be putting the numbers and the group sizes on the screen, so feel free to pause it and take a closer look. Let's start with a quick recap of what we tested today. We started with the Mossberg bolt gun running the 55 grain Winchester. At 100 yards, the average group size was a massive 4.6 inches. Then we took the Mossberg out to 220 yards, where we shot a 4-inch group, pushed it to 330 yards, getting a 10.5 inch group. At 420 yards, we got a 10-inch group. And at 540 yards, the group opened up to over 19 inches with one round falling off the plate. Average muzzle velocity for this load was 3,055 feet per second with a standard deviation of 30. We then moved to the 77 grain Berger open tip match in the Mossberg MVP bolt gun, where the group sizes shrunk down significantly, putting up a 0.7 and a 0.8 inch group at 100 yards. Then pushing it out and getting a 3-inch group at 220, another 3-inch at 330, and then again a 3-inch group at 420 yards. And at 540 yards, the group measured 10 inches, with all of them staying on the plate this time. Average velocity for the 77 grain out of the bolt gun was 2614 feet per second, with a standard deviation of 25. Next up was the Aero Precision build gas gun running the same 55 grain Winchester full metal jackets. At 100 yards, the gas gun put up a 1.5 inch group and a 2.65 inch group, which I thought was pretty decent for a gas gun running this cheap ammo. Then we pushed it out to 220 yards, where we got a 4-inch group. At 330 yards, we got a 6-inch group. At 420 yards, we got a 5-inch group. And then at 540 yards, the group was 15 inches. That's what I measured looking at the replay on the spotting scope, with one round falling just off the edge of the plate. Average velocity for this 55 grain was 3,050 feet per second, which was almost identical to the bolt action, and the standard deviation was 30, which was the same as the bolt gun. And finally, moving to the 77 grain load out of the AR-15 is where we put up some very impressive groups. At 100 yards, the first group was 0.3 inches, and the second group was 0.48, just under ½ inch. At 220 yards, we put up another half MOA group at 1 inch. At 330 yards, we got a 4-inch group, which was just over an MOA. But then at 420, we pushed it back down to 2.5 inches, which was under a half MOA group. And at 540 yards, the group measured 6.5 inches, which was almost an MOA at that distance, which is very good for a gas gun. Average velocity for the 77 grain bullets out of the gas gun was 2,660, which was very close to the 2,614 we got out of the bolt gun. And the standard deviation was the same out of both rifles, with a 25 standard deviation. When you lay out all this data side by side, the gas gun outshot the bolt gun, especially when it was running the 77 grain open tip match. Now I want to hear from you. What would you want to see next? A factory grade 16-inch gas gun against my custom built AR-15? Or maybe a high-end 223 bolt action versus my custom built AR-15? Or maybe there's other bullets you want me to test. We might go and try to make a custom hand load 55 grain for this bolt action, because it is running the 1-in-9 twist barrel. So we may be able to hand load some 55 grains and get an improvement that way. So if this breakdown helps you out, hit the like button and subscribe for more data-driven comparisons. And I'll see you next time.